bustling in here today. $2,800 a night, definitely going to be an issue. The Giraffe Manor has been a global phenomenon for decades, and there's nothing like it anywhere in the world. It's positioned in the capital, the heart of Kenya, in Nairobi, and they've built an entire business around the natural wild behavior of these incredible animals. I travel around the world and review the very best hotels out of 50 points in 5 categories. I use 4 different tests and dozens of criteria points. The categories are the ambiance, the room, the dining, the service, and the it factor. All of my reviews can be found on ryanwalkert5.com, and at the end of this video, I'm going to show other hotels that scored similarly. I was not paid by Giraffe Manor. I paid full price to stay here myself, and I cannot wait to show you this one. To book, you have to check a calendar online and send them an email to see if that day is available. It's very much so exclusive only to guests of the hotel, and they have strict check-in and check-out times. In fact, they told us the room is officially ready. Let's go take a sneak peek. Well, there are no keys to any of the rooms at the Manor, so I suppose we'll just walk right in. All right, we're gonna see more of the room a little bit later, which honestly is probably the weakest selling point for the Manor. For now, I wanna show you around the 12 acres this property has. Let's start with the ambiance segment. Let's kick off the ambiance section talking about how this hotel is organized. So in 1930, they built this historic manor you see next to me as an African hunting lodge. It wasn't until years later, in 1970s, that they converted it and the giraffes from the area started to come around. It became a tourist overnight sensation and blew up so much that they had to build a second exact replica of this building right next door, adding 6 more rooms. Years later, they built the retreat on site, which has spa and wellness facilities, and that gives you the property as it is today. The maintenance around the property is very impressive. When you have this many wild animals walking around, you would assume that there's gonna be a lot to clean up. The grounds are clean, manicured. It's also one of the most beautiful buildings that I've had the chance to review on this channel. There's ivy that grows up the side, goes nicely onto the windows, and then obviously you have these guys everywhere you look. Just an impressive grounds overall. In the 1970s, there were only 80 of the Nubian giraffe left in the wild. Due to conservation efforts and in part due to the Giraffe Manor, there are now over 1,000. In fact, you can donate to the foundation through the link in the description in this video, and they'll send you all of the gifts that you see here on screen as a thank you for your donation. I highly recommend it. These giraffes are magnificent creatures, and it would be devastating to lose them as a species on our planet. We have some time before our first giraffe encounter, so I want to head over to the retreat now. The mantra of the retreat is Heri Yako, Heri Yangu, which means my happiness is your happiness. And honestly, what makes me happiest here is the spa, and even more so, the spa pricing. Now, it's not that interesting of a menu as far as what it offers, but a 60-minute massage is only $100 US, give or take. What an incredible value for a spa at a luxury hotel. Inside the spa now, it's not the most lavish and there are only 2 treatment rooms, but remember there's only 12 rooms total at Giraffe Manor. It smells amazing, and again, that $100 price point is pretty exceptional. Next to the spa at the retreat is the gym, and the most interesting thing in the gym is the equipment. Everything you see in here is sports art. Now, sports art equipment, when you use it, actually puts power back into the grid, which supports the sustainability of Giraffe Manor. I've never seen that before, and I feel like what a smart integration to a hotel when you have people using this all the time. To pass the time at the hotel, they offer daily croquet, painting, and an African-themed chess set inside. It's a calm, very relaxing day at the Manor, and you just feel peaceful being here. Save the best in this building for last, the pool. So at a glance, this looks like a normal lap pool at a hotel, right? But in reality, this is the only place at the retreat that the giraffes like to come and visit. So it's not uncommon for you to be swimming laps and an 18-foot guest will come and take a look at you while you're swimming. It is warm, chlorinated, there's a sauna and a steam room as well, and there's also a jacuzzi. The pool, the spa, the gym, and the grounds. Walking around here is just majestic, especially early in the morning. I gave the ambiance a 9 out of 10. Now, there are only 12 rooms in this entire hotel. I got the Marlin room that you saw before, so let's go take a closer look at it. So this room is $2,800 US at the time of recording this per night for 2 people. I want to show you what comes with a room at that price point. So let's start with the bed. So here you have the Giraffe Manor bed. I like the really bright pink, it's a nice contrast. So generally it looks like a welcoming bed, but on closer inspection there's a couple of design and functionality choices that are odd. First, this bed does not have a lot of give to it. Also not looking good is this kind of odd olive paint color on the wall. If you look really closely in the details of this room, it's definitely a building that was built in 1930. They put this kind of simple paint over the wall where there's an opportunity for a fun wallpaper, something that just makes the room a bit more lively. They really do, of course, lean into the giraffes here at the Giraffe Manor, if you didn't get that motif by now. There's some fun alternative and contemporary art versions of a giraffe. You have a small seating area here that feels a little bit tired, and then on this side is your welcome amenities. This is quite cool. So they give you a basket of food for the giraffes that potentially would come to your balcony when you're having breakfast, or you can use this throughout the manor. There's a couple bottles of water here, and some notes just welcome you to the room. There is no mini bar in the room. In fact, there's not many technological advancements or improvements whatsoever. No automatic blinds, no light switches that are simple that control the entire room, and there is no air conditioning in here, which is definitely going to be an issue. On this side, however, they do have an espresso machine, so the Nespresso pods are included in your stay, and they have some cookies over here. No sodas or specialty beverages, but I'm sure they can bring that to you if you request it. Just a little odd to not have that in the room, a mini fridge. It just feels like some of the opportunities for visual improvement, maybe we're not taken by the manor here. Let me show you a little bit more of what I'm talking about. So this is unfortunately where things get a little bit bleak in this room. You walk in and there are some dying plants in the corner. It's just dimly lit. There's opportunity for different lighting fixtures in here. And yes, you could make the argument that this is almost 100 years old. However, I've reviewed a lot of historic hotels on this channel, like the Ritz Mandarin Oriental, for example, that have invested in some of those improvements. At that nightly rate, you can absolutely afford a new sconce that doesn't look like it's been stained over 50 years of use in a bathroom. On this side, you have a dual vanity with 2 mirrors here that look like they could fit in a motel. And I know I'm being a little bit harsh on the manor here, but again, another huge opportunity for material improvement. There's a small toilet on this side of the room that I tested earlier and has a little bit of a clunky plumbing system behind it. And over here is the shower. So I'm going to test the shower now, which is 3 criteria points. The shower test is the size, the pressure, and the ease of use. This is more of a design thing and less of the actual test. Something about a rubber bath mat in a hotel feels almost like when you have a tub mixed with a shower and there's a mat in there that's been used by all of the guests. Not the most fun when you're possibly barefoot in the shower. Again, that doesn't play into the test. Let's start with the size. Once you get inside, it is a very nicely sized overhead rain shower. There's no handheld in here, so the ease of use is honestly excellent. You have a hot, you have a cold function, you turn it on both sides to turn it on. You turn on the hot water, and you can see the pressure is pretty abysmal. It is a rain shower, but it kind of does feel like rain. It is coming out. There's a couple of spouts up here that are clogged, so they're spraying sideways. And I can tell you from my shower earlier, it gets very hot very quickly. I found myself fiddling with these the entire shower, back and forth, trying to figure out the right temperature. By the time I was done, I still hadn't found it. Ice cold, really hot, definitely not a quality shower experience. I also found that the pressure was inconsistent throughout the shower as well. So just now it was a little bit better, then it will suddenly get low pressure and then go back to high pressure. So for a luxury hotel stay, that price point warrants it as a luxury hotel stay. This shower does not pass the shower test, at least in my opinion. stepping away from Giraffe Manor for a second to make a fun announcement. I put out a poll recently to all of you asking which of the new developments that I'm working on you'd like to see first on the channel, and the results are in. I'm very pleased to announce the official launch of the brand new Ryan Walker T5 website. So this new website, you can filter all of the scores, you can look at rankings all in one place, there's an interactive map like the previous site, and it's just an overall better experience. And with that, I also want to say thank you to Founders Card for sponsoring this video. Now, if you're new to the channel or you haven't seen those videos, Founders Card has sponsored multiple videos on the channel to let me tell some of my more personal stories or talk more about starting my business. Founders Card, if you're not familiar, is a membership program that gives you access to perks, upgrades, and benefits that you can't get all in one place anywhere else. In fact, the first year with Founders Card is free if you use the code that's on your screen right now or click the link in the description. Now, it's a limited membership, but you still get access to seeing all of the different perks and benefits. And honestly, my personal favorite has been the airline upgrades and perks. I've used them in almost every one of my flights recently. So thank you, Founders Card, for sponsoring this video, and thank you to all of you for your patience. Go check out the new website. You might even find a couple of Easter eggs in there. Okay, let's get back in the manor. And out here you have your private balcony. So you can take your meals from the balcony, and there's a chance that a giraffe might come by to get some of those pellets that you have in the room. Very cool experience and definitely a plus. Two more quick things in the room. They do provide a yoga mat, and laundry is complimentary here, so that's included in your nightly rate as well. All right, now I'm gonna enjoy the sunset here, get into a robe, and we'll test the bed next. I have my Giraffe Manor robe on. I'm about to sleep in this bed and let you know how it is in the morning when I wake up. But before I do that, I want to order room service breakfast for tomorrow. A little bit later in the service segment, we'll see if the food showed up on time, if it was hot, and if it was fresh. The Giraffe Manor doesn't have a phone in the room to call the front desk. What they have instead is a QR code. So I'm going to order room service through the QR code. Before I do that, I want to talk about the turn down just briefly. They give you a complimentary luggage tag with a giraffe on it and a small note with some facts about giraffes. So I'm going to read one for you. Giraffes sleep the least of all mammals. An adult giraffe sleeps for only half an hour a day in 5-minute increments. That's definitely not going to be me tonight. I'm hoping to get 8 to 9 hours if I can. Before that, let's put in the order. Okay, that seems to have worked. Now, I've never ordered breakfast room service from a QR code in the room before, but we'll see how they do tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. with the black coffee and the Eggs Benedict. Until then, let's get some sleep. I'm not gonna lie to you, that was a rough night's sleep. There's only a small fan, so it gets really hot. Ever since I reviewed the Equinox Hotel and they told me to set the room to 67 degrees Fahrenheit when you sleep, I've been trying to do that. Impossible. In this room, we're in Kenya, it's 80 degrees in the morning. It got very hot. Number two, the bed is uncomfortably firm. It's like a brick mattress. The pillows were nice, but just really tough on my back for sure. And I think I probably only slept like 4 or 5 hours. So we'll have to consider that in the room score. So you're here at Giraffe Manor. You are most likely not spending a lot of time in the room. You're gonna be out there with the animals of the area. However, I'm gonna review this room like I do any luxury hotel on this channel. There are a couple of things in this room that I truly believe could be problematic for some of you watching. The first is no air conditioning, and is a major issue in the summer months here in Nairobi. Second, the shower did fail the shower test. It was a pretty low-end shower experience and just not something that was enjoyable during the stay. Third, that sleep was pretty brutal. A rough night's sleep, hardly slept through the night. The heat was a big part of that, but the mattress itself was also very firm. And finally, the material choices in the room I think could just be improved. At that price point, yes, they do only have 12 rooms here, so the economics of the manor need to make sense. But I would definitely increase the price per night to have a little bit more of a luxury experience in the room, especially because we're in the $2,000 to $3,000 range here. With all of that in mind, I gave the room a 3.5 out of 10. Now, there are 2 primary restaurants here at Giraffe Manor and a cafe. The dinner tonight is probably one of the most romantic dinners I've had. You just have to see it. Keep in mind, everything you're about to see is included in your nightly rate. So I got the most popular thing in every restaurant, and we're gonna add it to the dining score at the very end. Good morning from the main restaurant. It is bustling in here today. So this is where giraffes come and join you for breakfast. I'm gonna give it a try, see what they think as well. If you feel like you've seen this room before, it's because it is easily the most documented in the entire hotel. The breakfast menu here is pretty small and limited, but the names of the dishes are all based on current and past giraffes. So you have Betty's Brioche, Arlene's Avo Delight. You get the idea. I ordered the most popular thing on the menu, and they did have to close the window behind me because the giraffes will eat anything on the table. While we're waiting for the breakfast to arrive, I was looking at the Giraffe Manor website, and on the site it says that you can put a pellet of food in between your lips and the giraffes will actually lick it out of your mouth. Giraffes have a 20-inch long black tongue, and apparently their saliva has antimicrobial properties, but I don't know if I'm ready for second base yet. So not for me, but something maybe you can do when you stay here yourself. Lovely, thank you. So here we have Taruru's Trio, which is an egg omelet. It's a very simple dish. A lot of the dishes here are quite simple. That is a very good omelet. Look, I have no problem with simple dishes and simple plating as long as the flavors are present. That's definitely the case here with this omelet. The breakfast menu has everything that you could want at a breakfast in a hotel, but nothing that really feels extraordinarily different or elevated. But it's not really about the breakfast, it's more about them outside. Back in the retreat now, this is Daisy's Cafe, which is a small cafe named after the first ever giraffe to come to Giraffe Manor, Daisy. Now, giraffes only live about 25 years or so unfortunately Daisy is no longer with us, but her legacy lives on in the farm-to-table ingredients here at the cafe. You really can't get more local than this. So all of the herbs, veggies, flowers, and honey are grown or harvested right here at the retreat. They even say that the eggs and tomatoes come from the team members' home family farms. I ordered the smoothies here. They also have coffee. Wow. Vibrant and flavorful. Really good. This is one of the most romantic and special things you can do here at the Giraffe Manor. They call it Dinner in the Orchid House. It is a full dinner menu in an orchid garden that they have on site in their greenhouse. It is at no additional cost and you can book it as long as it's available. Let's talk about this dinner a little bit before it arrives. So it's a multi-course menu tonight. You get a starter, a main, and a dessert, of course. Everything in here has giraffe icons and different insignia on it. Even the forks have a giraffe pattern on it. The level of detail is really amazing. It's a very quiet, very peaceful setting, which would be perfect for like an anniversary or if you're celebrating something with a loved one. But I think you might want to book like a guitarist or someone to play some music because it can be a little bit empty in here. However, we're gonna fill it with some joy and some excitement to eat this food tonight. Can't wait for the first one to arrive.
The water from a giraffe pitcher.
This is incredible. Thank you. Sitting here kind of feels like you're on an episode of The Bachelor and I'm about to ask someone to accept my final rose. It is so romantic.
It's the final rose tonight, when you're ready.
You're natural, you're natural. If you're half as excited as I am, you're on the edge of your seat. The first course here is a caramelized onion soup. Smells so fragrant. There's a little bit of dried Parmesan in there. Excellent. I will admit, I love an onion soup. French onion, one of my favorites. This definitely hits the mark. It's thick, it's creamy, maybe not the most visually appealing, but once you actually take a bite, it just hits. Excellent start. The main dish has arrived. This is the lamb tonight. This is how the Giraffe Manor works when it comes to their dining menu. They have a 4-day cycle. So the first day is chicken, second is steak, third is fish, and the fourth is lamb. It's a beautiful plating with the lamb, salt-encrusted zucchini on the outside, and some vegetables on the side. Now I will say, I let them know I'm allergic to beans, and there are some snap peas in here, so something to consider for the service segment. But overall, looks and smells really great. I will admit, I'm not the biggest fan of lamb of those 4 options. It can tend to be a little bit dry, especially at fine dining restaurants, but let's see how they did here. That is quite dry. Lamb is just so difficult to prepare and keep it moist. In fact, one of the worst choking episodes I've ever had in my life was on a cruise ship with lamb. It must have just gotten stuck. They had to call in the captain. It was a whole debacle. So I'm gonna make sure to chew tonight so that doesn't happen. So the final course here is a chocolate fondant with a miso ice cream. Now, unfortunately, miso is a derivative of soy, which is in the bean family, so not gonna be able to touch that, but let's give this chocolate cake here a try. Wow, so soft, warm, smells like a chocolate chip cookie right out of the oven. Wow, that really brought it home. Has the same consistency, flavor, texture as a molten brownie, but extra dark chocolate. For the chocolate lovers out there, come to Giraffe Manor and try this dessert here. Wow. Okay, that is everything in the dining at Giraffe Manor. It's time for the final dining score. It's a very limited menu at Giraffe Manor. If you were to stay here for 3 or 4 nights, I think it could get pretty old pretty quickly, even if they are changing it on a daily basis for dinner. Considering the flavors, everything I tried, I gave the dining a 7.5 out of 10. Now, the service is so important at a luxury hotel stay like this. It's also the hardest score to give next. So I have a couple of tests for the team here at the Giraffe Manor, but I can tell you the dining service was a little bit slow. Let's see how they do with the service segment. It is 7:01 a.m. The breakfast that I ordered for the breakfast service test has arrived. They also brought a pastry tree and some fruit as well, so above and beyond here. We've got our Eggs Benedict, smells and looks extraordinary. The hollandaise is already on top, and our hot coffee. I didn't sleep much last night, but this coffee's gonna help. Look at this, wow. Little giraffe on the front of the mug. Oh, so hot, very hot. Great coffee. Let's cut these eggs, test how fresh they are. So for the breakfast service test, I always get the Eggs Benedict because you can cut it open and see how recently it was made, if it was overcooked. It tells you a lot about the service here. As you've seen on the channel before, it usually is very runny. It's kind of nice to have it soaked up by the English muffin below it, and this one was over hard. However, we won't know the service score here at the Giraffe Manor until I give them my service test. The service test is the part of the review where I call the team and I ask for something they're not used to hearing or accommodating. I've asked for a lot of strange things on this channel in the past, so go check out those videos if you're curious. Here at the Giraffe Manor, I'm less concerned with how they're serving the guests and more concerned with how they're serving the giraffes. So because the Giraffe Manor team did not know I was coming and I did not partner with them in any way, for this service test, I want to be sure that my sponsorship donation, as well as all of your donations, are going to the right place. So remember, there isn't a phone in the room, so calling from the cell phone.
Hello.
I was looking to make a donation to the Giraffe Conservation Program, but I just had a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Wonderful. It looks like a very impressive program. I saw that 50% of the donation goes to the fund, and I was curious where the other 50% goes.
So there's a 50% goes to a community project. So we've got community projects in all of our properties. So for example, in Nairobi, we work with a school and we pay teachers' salaries, sometimes support them with food, a bit of infrastructure development. I can do a write-up for you if you're interested.
No, I mean, that sounds wonderful. So basically 100% of the donation either goes to the GCF or other projects outside of the Nairobi area.
Yes, we do.
What is the conservation status for the subspecies of giraffe?
So they're the most threatened subspecies of giraffe with around 2,000 left in the wild.
What would you say is something you tell people to inspire them to donate to this wonderful program? Like, what is the most impactful part in your opinion?
We're talking about giraffe conservation. People don't take it as seriously as they do elephant conservation. Yet for every one giraffe we have, we've got 4 elephants. So which means giraffes are more endangered than the elephants. And that's why we took interest in it, and it's something that we want to keep on promoting.
Well, thank you so much. This was incredibly helpful. I'm going to do a little bit more research and then I'll give you a call back and make a donation for the sponsorship. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
I appreciate it. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Wow. Well, in short, it sounds like a program that I would be proud to donate to. I actually did some research on the GCF before I made this phone call and before I booked this stay, and $1.65 million was donated in 2025, with 90% of that going into giraffe conservation and rehabilitation efforts. Only 10% for employee salaries and for admin costs. Now, although their nonprofit and conservation efforts are top-notch, there is so much more that goes into the service expectations when you're staying at this price point. Let's speak to the service generally around Giraffe Manor. So there's a couple critiques that I have on this front. There's no welcome drink when you arrive, no welcome amenity, and the dining service is a little bit slow. However, the butler that was assigned to my room was extraordinarily great. Amazing communication. There is no phone in the room, which is a little bit inconvenient to use a text system for everything. And another negative is they really do rush you out right at 10 a.m. because of the capacity and how they turn over guests. There's no late checkout, there's no early check-in whatsoever. With all of that being said, everyone I met here at Giraffe Manor, however, was wonderful, lovely, so kind. The people of Kenya are truly extraordinary. All of this in consideration, I gave the service a 7.5 out of 10. The It Factor category is comprised of 3 considerations. That is the location, the value, and the unique nature of the hotel. Starting with the location, this is right in the heart of Nairobi, but it kind of feels like a garden sanctuary. They call it their own Narnia, and that could not be closer to the truth. Personally, I don't think that the location can get better than this. You're close enough for a drive from the airport, but right next to the reserve where the giraffes can just naturally walk over and interact with you. Wow. So what makes this hotel unique, I think, goes without saying. Wild Nubian giraffes like Kelly here are in rapid decline across Africa. This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience without a question. It's something that I'll be an old man one day telling my kids about staying here at the Giraffe Manor. And finally, the value. Yes, $2,800 a night for 2 people is a splurge, but think about all the things that you get for that rate. There's food and drink included. You have complimentary transfers to and from the airport, laundry in your room, interactions with animals, and you can even go to the Giraffe Conservation Center. All of that is included. A lot of local trips these days, even in the United States, can cost as much as $2,500, but you wouldn't get half of the memories and experiences that you have at the Giraffe Manor. I definitely think it's worth it. It is hard to imagine a more incredible place on this entire planet. As I'm filming this, I am feeding a giraffe through the main door of this hotel. I gave the it factor a 10 out of 10. You've been so good, thank you. You eat all that now. That was amazing, thank you. So that was the Giraffe Manor here in Nairobi, Kenya. One of the most unique and interesting stays that I've ever had personally. If you add all of the scores together throughout this review, I gave this hotel a 37.5 out of 50. Unfortunately, it is now time to check out of the Giraffe Manor, but before I do that, they did tell me that the giraffe I received from the sponsorship is the incredible Daisy. So Daisy, she's right there behind me. You can sponsor a giraffe yourself, like I said before, at the link in the description. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Ryan Walker, and we'll see you on the next one.